Williams veers left, pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jaywill Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11.109. Now SGA probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
And welcome in to another episode of the Topic Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Alex. I'm not Dylan, but Dylan is getting a well-deserved break. After the playoffs, you know, he went in and he turned the receipts and he showed us that he did, what did he say was like 26 games or 16? He was locked in. He was locked in. So this is a well-deserved break for him. And so we're going to go ahead and take over. And so I'm your host, Alex. We are part of the Believe Network, and I'm joined in by the two men who would make Mark Morrison sing. It's the return of the Mats. Of the Mats. So I'm going to start off with the man in Oklahoma City, the man that is closest to Ground Zero, Celebration Station. I'm going to start with Tierney. My man, how are you? How have you been?
I haven't been
champion. How have you been, champion?
Well, yeah. First, I just want to say good evening, champions, to everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to all the champions listening and all the champions who will be listening in the future. I'm great. I haven't been on since the parade. A high five, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That was pretty cool.
Have you washed that hand yet?
No, I kind of. I kind of just like held it up while I was walking like 2 miles to my car because it was the largest amount of people I've ever seen in one area. I think they estimated like 500 to 700,000 people. It was ridiculous. High five, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander though. I watched. I almost high five Nikola Topic while wearing the Nikola Topic jersey.
The world would have exploded.
He was
straight up.
By the time Nikola Topic got to us, because we were at the very end of the parade, he was shirtless, just running around. I was like, dude, I have your jersey. I can just give it to you, bro.
You want to borrow mine?
You need to borrow. You need it. I got you, bro. It'd been great, but yeah, he was out there. I just gotta say, I mean, it's now been almost a week since it happened, but I was sitting in that. I was there since like 7:30 a.m. something like that. I was in the front of the line. For some reason, it never crossed my brain that the Thunder players would be anywhere else but the buses. Like I just thought they'd be on they'd be on the little, you know, the high rise. They'd be you know, pumping their fists. They'd be holding the trophy. They'd be doing all sorts. And it was just so like, oh my God, they're just like next to the crowd. They're just walking on the street. They're holding the trophy. Shai had an OKC giant ass flag that he was running around our area with. He had the little Canadian flag on his shorts. I was just like, this is awesome. This is like, you hear all the cliche things from the players like, oh, it's for the fans, and you kind of believe it, but it's like, it's also a little bit cliche. But that moment of them just like walking pretty much the entire parade, not on the bus, but in the streets, high-fiving everybody, just like riling up the crowd. That to me was like, oh, they mean what they're saying when they're talking about. Would
you say it was one for the city?
It was one for the city. And shout out Aaron Wiggins, dude. Absolute speech of a lifetime. They need to give him the microphone for the ring ceremony opening day. If they don't, that is a travesty. He had an awesome speech. Just a very awesome day. And yeah, one I'll never forget.
A perfect ending to a historic day.
Perfect ending to a historic day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that Mike? Who's that?
Brian Davis.
Brian Davis. That's what it was. The Westbrook 3 to seal the MVP. That's what it was. Yeah. But yeah, the great day. I loved every bit of it, and I'm still just thinking about it. Guys. We're NBA champs.
What's up, champ?
What's up, champ?
So sometimes
also joining us, that voice right there, that sultry, almost retired voice right there, is our very own Master Sergeant, First Sergeant,
Master Sergeant, yeah,
Master Sergeant Matty Mullins, almost retired. Hey, brother, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm blessed. Yeah, I had my retirement ceremony on Friday. Got to watch the parade from afar because
Great
I had
week.
the retirement ceremony to prepare for. It was like preparing for a wedding, having to get people on base, having to figure out how to feed them, having to figure out how to do the ceremony, all that stuff.
This was
But
your
man,
ceremony and you had to plan it?
yeah, I mean, I had some help.
Yeah.
There were a lot of hands and feet that helped me, but yeah, I mean, it was ultimately like, nobody's going to care more about your ceremony than you type of
Yep.
thing. So, and I was like, well, like let's do this thing right. So like smoked 8 pork butts and made pasta salad, watermelon, got some barbecue, bourbon, beer, baked beans, just really good setup. So a lot of fun, whirlwind of a week, winning an NBA championship on Sunday, parade on Tuesday, draft on Wednesday, retirement on Friday. And gentlemen, we're still champs.
We're champs.
We're champs.
We are. Woke up a champ. That's what I like to say every day that I wake up now.
Brian.
It's not just who bounces first, but you know what? We also bounce last. Hashtag bounce last.
Nice.
So, dude, it's been crazy.
But it's still 0-0.
Now it's 0-0. Yeah, the draft
happened. 0-0. We were 1-0 for a little bit. Now we're 0-0.
Free agency technically what starts tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, technically. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I do. So it's been a week. I do want to kind of give any final thoughts, give any final, the thing about a championship is you celebrate it and then you have to move on to the next thing. You have to start looking forward towards the next thing, which is
and another one,
and another one, but in a little bit, like looking at it as far as like literally 2 days later was the draft. But I just want to kind of touch on, like, I don't think I was on whenever we won the championship on last Sunday. I was on for like 15, 20 minutes. My phone was about to die. I was in Orlando, Florida. I was not here. I had literally attended 95% of all the playoff games for the Thunder. And the one game that I missed was Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but it's okay. It's okay. My daughter was in Florida. She was, doing volleyball. She had, volleyball nationals over there, and sometimes or every time, family is more important than than the game. Than the stuff that you do on the side. So my wife likes to call the Thunder my mistress, and my mistress was very heavy in our relationship here over the past couple months. So I was in Orlando. We still got to celebrate there. I got to celebrate it with the people I love the most. My little one, out the blue, she's my New York Knicks fan. Out the blue, she called me from the hotel room because from the Airbnb, I was in the hotel where the rest of the team was, and she called me and she was crying. So that kind of brought a tear to my eye. She was so happy crying, not like my wife was beating her or anything like that. So she was happy crying.
Good clarification.
Yeah, she was crying. Come get me. No. But she was happy crying. And then, the parade, of course, again, I didn't get to see it as far as like being there, which, hey, it is what it is, but it looked like it was great. It looked like you said, Tyranny, the players got out there and they interacted with the fans. It wasn't hey, keep us away from those crazy people. We're going to stay up here. We're going to celebrate with our teammates, and that's about it. No, they got down there and they shook hands. They kissed babies. They did everything that you would think a team that preaches, we're doing this for the city and we love the city that we play in, that they would do. And they actually did it. And I think that even more strengthens the bond that you have solidified between the team and the city. Like, there's an entire generation now that is going to be known as, that is going to think of their team as the championship team. We had an entire generation when it came to like the Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka time, where we got to know them as like really, really good players, a really good team, but we never got to know them as champions. And there's going to be a generation of Oklahoma Cityites from here on out that all they're going to talk about is, hey, do you remember that 2025 championship? And do you remember, how the players were, giving high fives during the parade? Do you remember how they were constantly talking about the city and constantly talking about how much they love playing there and blah, blah, blah. And it's just going to be something that it's going to be a boon to the city itself. we're already riding on a high. We've already seen the champion, but it's going to be such a boon for the city going forward as we move on to like a new arena, as we move on to being a part of the Olympics in 2028, as we move on to those different types of things. This is championship town now. We are talking about champs here. We're talking about history. We're talking about, nobody can take this from us. And so when I look back and I look at this, I'm just like, I'm so proud of that. And I'm so proud that the team did what they said they were going to do. And they lived like they said they were going to live as far as like the team, the city, and things like that. So when I look back on it, I'll look back on it that way.
I already said, I think everything at the beginning there with the parade. I mean, it was a great experience. I do want to just show the one photo I think was the best. Everyone has probably already seen it, but I love it.
It's on my phone.
More.
It's on my phone.
I don't. It needs to be solidified somehow. I don't know how someone would do it, but it needs to be. This is the original photo. The other one is more zoomed in. But what I love about this photo, if you can see my mouse, is the bus number is 30, and it is 30 years to the exact year since the Oklahoma City Memorial bombing. It was in 1995. It's 2025. I love that part of this photo. So those of you on the podcast that are listening, not on YouTube, this is the championship bus. It's like Shea. It's like one of the few times where Shea was not on the street. He was actually in the bus. And like Lou Dort and a couple other guys were there. And it's right behind the Oklahoma City Memorial bombing, like, front of the area where it's got the we come here to remember quote from the bombing. It's so good. I can't remember his name now. It's like
Jimmy Doe.
Thank you. Yeah, the original photographer of it. Awesome shot. And yeah, to what you were saying too with the, how we'll remember this. There were some kids to my left at the parade that were like probably like 8 or 9 that were there, and I'm just sitting there like, man, their whole perception of the Thunder, they don't have like the 2016 Warriors
debacle. Don't have Game 6 Clay.
They don't have Game 6 Clay. They don't have the Westbrook injury where he went down and
Patrick
Beverly. They just have, this is a championship team. This is the best team they've ever seen. That's awesome. That's awesome for those kids. And we can't assume anything, but hopefully this is going to be many more championship runs down the road. It's a great start. We're about to talk about how we've kind of just solidified the roster again with the signings. Like we're in a really good shape, not just short term or long term for this team. And it's exciting.
Shout out to Bowler Jack being in the chat.
Shout out. Appreciate
you.
Legend in the chat.
I'd like to nominate that picture for Time's Picture of the Year. Like
I think
it's got to be up there. Like I don't know.
So good.
I can't think just off the top of my head of a picture that has, we've seen this year that has encompassed like, like civility, like, your civil union between one thing and another as far as like in a city and things like that. So definitely there's probably going to be something that pops up. There's probably going to be like this, something in a third world country or something in a war-torn country that pops up that, that'll probably take Picture of the Year. But as far as like, looking at,
there's a sport. Is there a sports category in Time?
I think there is. I think there, and I think like here's the thing: we're Oklahomans. Maddie, you've been all over the place because of military, but you are from Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. We're all Oklahomans, and it's something that, if you live through, yeah, there you go, baby. If you live through the bombing, if you live through, what has been since the bombing, that picture means so much more than just a championship celebration on a bus. That picture means, necessarily like the phoenix rising from the ashes, like literally, like you had the bombing, you had, Oklahoma City wanted to establish themselves as something other than the place where that bombing happened. And they took the steps that they needed to take. They made the sacrifices, financial sacrifices, taxes, and things like that to get to this point where they're at now. And so if you know anything about Oklahoma City, if you don't know about Oklahoma City, that is why that picture means so much.
Yeah. That was so we talked about bounce first. We talked about bounce last. This was hashtag bounce back. This was our way that as a city, granted, we've gotten support after the bombing. There were first responders that came in from all over the country, Arizona, New York, all over the place to help us to like get through this and then rehabilitate. The president came down to like, it was a huge deal, and it wasn't just internal for us and being able to like heal and move forward. But the community, man, like it rallied in a way that other communities haven't, or like you wouldn't be able to expect. But Oklahoma is just an uncommon place. And we talked about an uncommon team and uncommon people. Well, the people, it's not just within the team, it's within the community as well.
Yeah.
And really, it's difficult to see. Yes, we have, the 5+ players on the floor. We have the coaching staff and stuff. It's really difficult to look in the state of Oklahoma, especially the city of Oklahoma City, and see where the team ends and the city begins, because it's all really one entity in a way that you
very homogenous.
We do not see it in the rest of the NBA, man. It's not common.
It's not. And it's not common. And it's something that will stick with us from here on out. And that was a week ago. That was just a week ago. It feels like a month ago. It feels like so
much has happened.
Ago. So much has happened in that time. And so we're going to go chronologically as far as everything that has happened since let's say the parade, because a lot has happened in the world of the Thunder since then. So number one, on Wednesday and Thursday, was it Wednesday and Thursday? Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday they held the draft. Number one, what is your thoughts on the 2-day drafting? I know this is the second year of it.
Don't like it.
It's lame.
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like you're just running commercials on second round picks. Like if you're gonna do that, might as well just put them together. Like that's just leading to more like Nikola Jokic got drafted in a
Cerrito.
Right. He got drafted during a commercial. Like that's just leading to more of that nonsense.
I look at it two ways. So number one, it doesn't make sense to me, because like it makes sense for the NFL draft because you have so many draft picks. Yeah. 7 rounds. You have time in between every draft pick, so it makes sense for them to break it up into multiple days. But it does kind of make sense for me a little bit when I watched the second round, because for some reason I was just so ensconced in this draft. For some reason, like I wanted to see if the Thunder were going to do something big as far as like who they were going to draft. Like I didn't know where they were going to go. Like the team just won a championship a couple days ago. What do you need? There's not a lot that you need, and there's not a lot really to select from to need. But I was watching it, and the second round, I will say this: giving 1 day to the second round allows those players to be humanized a little bit more than they have in the past. And so it allows, Monica McNutt to go ahead and interview them and ask them, about their journey, and ask them about this and humanize them just a little bit. And I like that part of it. I like the shine that they gave to those players in second round, because honestly, second round players, a lot of them, they're not going to get much shine throughout their career. A lot of them are just going to be like ones and dones, 2 and done, never make it out the G League.
Especially ones that don't play for the Thunder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're never going to win championships. They may be on a G League final, I don't know, but those types of players, they don't get a lot of shine throughout their career. And so it was good to see the interviews, get to humanize them, get to know them a little bit more, and that was kind of cool. But we did draft a couple players, and so we had picks 15, 24 in the first round, and then pick number 44 in the second round. And so on Wednesday, first round day, at 15 they picked up Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. 6'10" center. He has a 7'6" wingspan. He's
top 15 length in the league, by the way.
Yeah, freaking albatross out there. And just kind of like looking over him, a lot of mock drafts had him going to us. It wasn't anything that was a surprise. The surprise was that the Thunder didn't move up, that they didn't move back. They just stayed at 15 and they picked up Sorber. But just looking at the highlights and looking at the tape and looking at the information on him, seems like a very thundery guy when you look at, number one, the plus wingspan. Number two, him being a center, but being somebody that is able to make decisions quickly. He had a good assist rate for a center. And he was very successful in his 1 year at Georgetown. This wasn't a player that you look at like an Ousmane Dieng. You look at him and you're like, hey, he's 6'10". He can dribble the ball. He can shoot the ball. He's 18 years old. I want to see what he's going to be like in 3 years. No, this is a guy that came into Georgetown, the Big East, played his butt off, and he averaged like 17 or 18 points, 11 rebounds, couple stocks. And it was just like, yeah, I could see that. I could see that translating to the NBA very easily. And so, we got him. What are your guys' thoughts on Sorber?
I'll let you go first, Maddie, because I have a couple of clips I wanted to show on YouTube.
So it was a very poorly kept secret that the Thunder were looking for a big man in this draft, specifically for the reason of a potential Isaiah Hartenstein replacement after this upcoming season.
Right.
Or two, we have a team option for his third year with us. Our team is going to get very expensive by that point. We're going to have to be very aware of where we're sitting against the cap. And so it was like, okay, we got to go get a big man. One thing I really like is his size, not just length, but weight. And the reason for that is the fact that he can do a lot of the things defensively that Hartenstein was able to do. And then he's more of a capable defender, I think, than Hartenstein. And obviously he's not a hub player at this point in his career offensively. But what it's really going to allow us to do, if we do move off of Isaiah Hartenstein next season, is keep Chet in his most effective role defensively, where he doesn't have to anchor us inside the paint, and he could be more of a free safety, just like flowing to wherever the play goes and then clean things up. So I really appreciate that. I also like the fact that we draft human beings first. That may sound cliche, but we're champs. So like maybe get on our level now. It matters the group of guys that you're putting around each other for hours on end.
Yeah.
And the mentorship that these young guys are going to get. Like Ace Bailey, for instance, going to the Jazz and he doesn't want to be there. And like, who's going to be the veteran to help rein him in, and who maybe is going to get in his ear and be like, maybe your agent's not the way to go, type of thing. Like the Thunder, there's a support system in every level for these players. It's sad in a way, because like, if you can't be successful with the Thunder, you're not going to be successful anywhere type of mentality. And now we're getting to the point where like minutes suck. Like Dylan Jones, we'll talk about him later probably, certainly can still make out a role for himself in the league. But man, Sorber, he feels like he's going to come in, be a great personal fit, be a great schematic fit basketball wise. He's going to do a lot of things to complement players around him. And I think it's all upside. It's very limited downside for us taking him there. People like Kevin O'Connell said that he was the number one big man on his board in the entire draft. And we
gave us an A+, right? For that.
And we got it. Yeah. And we got him where we got him, just hanging tight, similar to how we just hung tight and got Nikola Topic, and we'll see what happens with that. So Presti does it again. We'll talk more about, Presti-isms and the way he does business with a couple of signings later. But man, just like the Thunder way just continued. I'm stoked.
I have a couple of clips I wanted to show you guys, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
So first of all, before we get into this, No Ceilings NBA, they do a phenomenal job.
Shout out.
Friend of the pod. They're one of our best draft analysis guys that we bring on every year. They do this for a lot of players, but this was Thomas Sorber's. First of all, I skipped a lot of the scoring, but I just want to say, like, general gist of the scoring for him offensively, like he's got very good footwork in around the rim. If he can get a good entry pass, he's very good at finishing just in general. And I think, the Thunder have guys that are capable of doing that.
And I wanted to show not the greatest 3-point shooter.
He made a couple.
He will put him up.
He'll fire him if he's open. And he was like, not a great 3-point shooter, like 16%, I think, on the season. He's not known for that. He's not going to space the floor. But as I'm going to show in some of these other clips, there's a clear identity the Thunder are going for, and they're just ramping it up as much as they can to outcompete everybody else. And it doesn't matter, at that point, you can just win by playing your own game. But I have a couple of plays. First of all, this one, I want to say the two clips I have, or it's like 2.5. I tried to only show clips on like decent teams. This is, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, against West Virginia. There's a lot against like Fairfield and Wagner and, you know, teams that he's clearly better than, but I wanted to show against like pretty good competition. This was a play where he's about to get the ball, and the baseline, I don't know who this is on Georgetown, but the baseline player is about to cut to the rim, and I just want you to watch this because this is such an awesome play from him. It's pretty quick, so keep your eyes peeled. He just cuts, boom, no look pass like that. That play right there, I love for one reason in particular. There's a guy who loves cutting to the basket who's a guard in our team, and that's Alex Caruso. I could see this where they dish this to like the high elbow right here. This is Alex Caruso down here. Boom, just cuts.
Yeah.
He doesn't even look. He just, boom, zips it right down. The playmaking, this is one of those things that you already mentioned it, Molds, with Isaiah Hartenstein. He's not going to be able to be on this team for a long time. He's very expensive. We're about to get super expensive with Dub and Chet's extensions. Those types of plays, and Shea, he's about to get extended as well. Those types of plays, like those are very, very Isaiah Hartenstein-esque. But what I really want to focus on is what a lot of people focus on. It's the defense. This is against Xavier. This is sort of like a two-parter right here. But then I just kind of want to play the next like 3 or 4 plays because they're all against really good Big East teams and fantastic defensive plays. So this is Sorber up here guarding the ball. So
on the perimeter, mind you.
On the perimeter, keeps his guy in front of him. He gets the help from the double, keeps his hands up, stays vertical. And so then he has to give it up. And so at this point, you're like, okay, decent defense from Sorber. All right. They swing it. And then Sorber from the help, just nothing. Just nothing from him.
Verticality, baby. Verticality.
Barely jumped on
Easy
that.
for you to say.
Yeah.
Barely jumped on that. And if you just keep going, I'll let this play through a little bit as I'm talking. Like if you just let this play through, there's another, he didn't get the block there. But all of these teams, by the way, this is Butler, another good Big East team, blocked it at the 3-point line.
Yeah.
This is Providence, again, a really good team this year. Stays in front of his guard, nothing, swats it away. Another Providence play. He's out on the perimeter again. Stays with this guy. He kind of beats him a little bit, but it doesn't matter because he has a 7'6" wingspan. Just nothing there. Like these are some like Chet-esque plays where, yeah, he might get beat initially, but he's got the wingspan to do it. And again, this is St. John's, one of the best teams in the country this year. Nothing. Like these defensive plays are so fun to watch. And if you want to watch the whole thing, go to No Ceilings NBA. The full 25 minutes is awesome. Every single comment now is from the Thunder. They're just so excited to have them. All that said, I think my final jury on this is like he's probably going to get a lot of minutes early in the season. I think Daigneault does a good job of like throwing in his rookies, seeing what they've got. I don't know until Isaiah Hartenstein is out of the equation. I don't know how much time he's really going to get in real minutes in the playoffs and in crunch time minutes, but he has the potential to develop into a very good sort of Chet-like version of but like a bulkier Chet who may not have the same quickness and recovery as Chet does and defensive awareness as Chet, but is able to do a fairly good job in those categories, but also be able to keep guys in front of him, be a little bit more physical, and also still be able to defend around the perimeter. It's very promising. I think every single draft analysis I've seen has rated him very highly for us. Like that I'm very excited to see what he can become. His offense does need a little bit of work outside of the rim. But I think it's there. I think he has the playmaking skills, like I just showed in that first clip, to do something sort of like Isaiah Hartenstein. So I'm excited for him, man. He's going to be a little bit of a down the road kind of guy, but there's a lot of potential there.
Hibberstein.
Hibberstein.
Yeah, Alex Bowerjack. That's a good comparison.
That's a great combo right there.
I think one thing, so obviously he has something he can learn from Chet, but Chet's going to have to learn more in his post game and down low game in practice against him too, which is going to make
such a bigger body,
immensely better inside. And then, I mean, Sorber can certainly learn a lot from Isaiah Hartenstein with the push shot and all that stuff. So it could be a really, really fun group between those three plus one that we'll talk about later.
Sorber's rebounding too is phenomenal. His like timing on the basket is, especially on the offensive glass, is really.
He's
really
19 years old and he already knows how to use his body. Like that has to be a little bit scary for the NBA. Like I know he's just, and we'll get into this a little bit. Like he is coming off of a broken bone in his foot. Not necessarily and from everything that I've heard, it's not necessarily like the Kevin Durant, that type of broken bone. It's a broken bone in the foot. He needed time to heal. I don't know if he had surgery or not. He may have had surgery. But he's healing it. It's going to be fine heading into training camp. But this is a 19-year-old that knows how to use his body defensively, knows how, he swing, the big time draft nicks talk about like prospects that can swing their hips, especially like big men that can swing their hips. He's one of those players that can swing their hips very quickly to get to a spot, to use that to his advantage. He uses his length to his advantage. You saw on some of those plays where he just stayed vertical. Like he knows that he's 7'6", and he knows that he's 6'10" with a 7'6" wingspan. And so he knows that he just has to stay vertical for a little bit just to even disrupt the shot, not necessarily to block it, but to disrupt it. And so having somebody like that in the pipeline is, I think it's just like Kevin O'Connor says, A+ on the grade scale.
They nailed it. Yep.
They nailed it. Yeah. 100%. And so then moving on to pick number 24. So pick 24, it came out right, before it was our time on the clock for pick 24 that we had traded it to Sacramento, which I think Jake Fisher had already said it, before the draft, but that we were trading that pick to Sacramento. In exchange, Sacramento gave us a 2027 San Antonio first round pick that I believe they got in the Fox deal. That was 1 through 16 protected. And so basically what the Thunder did is just they kicked the can down the road a little bit, 2 years, and hope that it's a better pick number-wise than 24. It could be better. It could be worse. We may not even get it all because if it's just protected for 1 year, and then after that, after 2026, it turns into 2 2027 second-round picks. And so, it's a move for the future. It's a move that we're probably going to see next year a lot because we have a ton of picks next year. Go ahead, Maddie.
If it conveys, okay, we win because we got it. If it doesn't convey, that means Wemby's out of the playoffs, and that means we won again. So
exactly,
it's a win-win for us either way.
Yeah, it's definitely like you're at best, it's pretty much the same pick in 2 years. And I think that's sort of a testament to the fact that they didn't find anything. They didn't find any good deals for them to package this and move up, because if they did, I don't think we would have seen this trade. It was very much it was the first neutral asset swap play from Sam Presti in the last few years.
I also think that people are scared to trade with Presti now. Maybe. And I mean that because Denver, what did we give him? Like pick 30? Like
30, yeah.
For a top 4 protected pick in 27 and 29, like that's a fleecing, because Denver's never going to get to that point anymore. I don't think with this group to where they have like the best, top 5 record in the NBA. Like they're not. They're only going to start to go down from here. And so that pick could be real good for the Thunder in 2027 and 2029. And so I do think GMs are starting to be a little bit more cautious and wary of dealing with Sam Presti and not necessarily wanting to be embarrassed or want to be like, Presti won that one again. They don't want that marker on them. And so I do think you're going to start to see kicking the can down the road, but not like, oh my God, Denver gave us a top 4 protected pick.
You're not going to see the Pelicans and the Hawks type of deal that we saw in the draft.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. What? So, but it is what it is. The roster was full. We probably couldn't. We probably had to make more moves to fit in number 24, and so we needed to make this move.
Yeah, it was. I'm fine with it. I mean, a lot of people had Nikkei on their ballot of guys they wanted to see.
Is it Nikkei or is it Neek?
Nikkei. I guess we don't. It doesn't matter for me because he's not on my team. But
Neek.
I don't know.
Like,
I can barely pronounce guys on our team, let alone off the team. But Nikkei Clifford, Nick Clifford. He was. I liked him too, but I understand why you can't. I mean, there's no roster spots. You can't keep him.
Nope. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we don't have roster spots for rookies, because that means that we're keeping everybody. And then the next day, pick 44, second round day, we picked up Brooks Barnheiser from Northwestern.
What a dog. Dude.
And honestly, had no idea who the hell he was when we picked him.
Same, but he's a dog. Everyone says he's a dog.
Yeah, but as soon as I saw like the Twitter clips on him, as soon as I looked at at clips on YouTube, I was like, holy crap. 6'6" guard, 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. He has crazy eyes, so that's always a great thing when you talk about somebody that's a defensive monster. He has crazy eyes. He's willing to go ahead and break his teeth, get surgery on his teeth, and then play the next day. And his teeth are all jacked up because of it.
Nice veneers.
Just a guy that he has veneers on. Yeah. Just a guy that, like, if you were building somebody in Sam Presti's lab of basketball role players for a team, he would definitely be somebody that would be built in that. Just
feels
lab.
like it could be a more raw, rugged Alex Caruso, just like all over the floor. And crazy eyes is exactly right. He has some crazy eyes. Like I was seeing some of the press interviews at when they announced the draft picks, and like he's got a little something in there that could be good in if it's contained. But the picture of him in Northwestern literally falling teeth first is not a thing you see very often. He's a dog. I forget the exact quote, Alex. I think you put it out, but like stacking days, something like that. Yeah, he said.
Oh,
I think
So I
think that was perfect. That was perfect. He just kind of fits that like culture mentality. The fact he's on a two-way too, so it's like he doesn't fit he doesn't take up a roster spot. I think it's all upside. Yeah. Only thing I want to add before that's all I had. But like barn burner, that there's something in there. we got to workshop that, but like there's something in there for him.
Definitely, and the way I see him is I see him as the defensive version of Aaron Wiggins. Just a second rounder that's going to come in here and possibly, make moves on this team. Not necessarily, play as many minutes as Wiggins did whenever he was a rookie, because that was a rebuilding team. But just somebody that he's going to go out there and he's going to earn his minutes. He's going to pester the hell out of, a lot of NBA players when he goes out there. And he's probably going to rack up like fouls per minute. Yeah. But he's going to go out there and he's going to play his game. Not very great offensively, like great as in, like he's not a great shooter at all. Like he finished his career, I think, at like 30%. Like last year, he was like at 26% from three. But one of those players that steadily built his craft at Northwestern. He was, he stayed there all 4 years. He hardly played any games freshman year. Played every game off the bench his sophomore year, and then started his junior and his senior year. So as far as like, somebody that you would like to see build up and somebody that, we could put in G League for a little bit, perfect candidate for that.
He's it's just a perfect, like no risk type of play from us. So I'm very happy with it. Yeah, very happy with it. We'll see what becomes of it. And, he's got the right guys around him to help. I think one thing to Zach Lowe mentioned this on during the NBA Finals. He mentioned this, but playing into your identity and not trying to like match other teams' identity. The Thunder just being like, we're a defensive, intense, in your face, hound you, like annoy you, strip the ball, get your hands on the ball. Like that's their identity. And it's so clear from both picks that they took this year in the NBA draft. That's what they're going with. I personally was like, I would like to see more shooting, because that was a big part of the offense that just stalled out a lot of times when we were kind of getting cold in the playoffs. It ended up not mattering, but it's clear the Thunder are like, no, we're just going to keep going this direction, this defensive identity. And, both of those guys are marquee reasons why that's happening.
And honestly, I thought the same thing, but then my mindset kind of changed a little bit as far as like, if you're drafting a shooter, like you don't know how they're going to shoot in the NBA. Like different defense, bigger defenders, quicker defenders, more hands in your face. And so if you're drafting somebody just to be a shooter that's out of college, like you're taking a big risk because, when they come into the NBA, number one, you need to be able to do something other than just shoot in the NBA to actually stay on the floor. That's number one. And then number two, again, variance. You don't know how they're going to react to better defenses, quicker defenders, bigger defenders, longer defenders. And so drafting a shooter is probably not something that you really want to do with a draft pick. You probably want to go ahead and either get one off the market, buy one off the scrap heap like we did with Isaiah Joe, something like that, rather than giving a draft pick to a shooter.
I almost think it's a step further too, because you could say the same thing technically about defense. Like if you're just an explosive shot blocking machine in college, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good in the NBA, because there's faster offensive players. Yeah. And I think what's more important, and I think what we've kind of already hit on, is not necessarily the one skill that you have. It's the, how do you process that skill? Like, how do you process that in the game when you're playing it? What is your mindset? How do you react? How do you
get in the right positions? And that's what I think they play for more so than, Thomas Sorbo is just like an explosive rim protector, or Barnheiser is just like a dog. I don't think those are the skills they're looking at. I think they're looking at, how are they reading, like on the defensive side, how are they reading the offense? And to Sorbo's credit, he's got great defensive footwork. Like you're seeing the little pieces of kernels of how he can read an offense, not just based off their physicality, but like how the schematic is working. And I haven't looked at Barnheiser as much, but I assume that's what they're looking at as well.
And it's not just like mental processing; it's also it's also effort. Because if you don't put in the effort on the defensive end, you're not getting in the game. You're not staying in the game.
Right.
So it looks like he's got both of those things, and then you can coach up what you've got to coach up. And maybe you can get a little quicker. Maybe you can learn a little different timing. But I think, we have a very friendly process for what we do offensively and defensively. And it's been written into our DNA since we were winning 24 games a year. So if guys just want to, if they put in the effort, for the most part, you can certainly see where he will be a fit.
One of the biggest things. So those were, I'm going to move on to the presser where we introduced the rookies. But one of the biggest things that Dagnall said when he was being interviewed is that Presti does a good job. He said, and I think this is almost verbatim, Presti does a good job of bringing in players that can hop onto a moving train. Ooh. So like this train, this Thunder, our schemas and our schematics for offense and defense, they've been in play for about 5 years now. We've seen that in the rebuild. And so if you want to bring in a player, they have to be able to jump onto a moving train and pick up this stuff very quickly. And so these guys have the pedigree that we've seen in college. They have the positivity. They have the that thing that's needed for them to be successful here in Oklahoma City. I was at the press conference for Sorber and Barnheiser when they introduced them. Number one, great guys. Number one, the Thunder are still doing that thing where they draft people, not players. These two guys are very well spoken. These two guys are excited to be here. It's funny. Like I was telling my wife when I got back home from that presser, and it was like, I've been to these introductory press conferences before, and it's like the guys are happy to be in the league. They're happy to be in the NBA. Regardless of what team chose them, it happened to be Oklahoma City, but regardless of what team chose them, they were happy to be in the NBA. This press conference was different. These guys were ecstatic to be in Oklahoma City. These guys were ecstatic to be a part of a championship team. Like it changes things a little bit whenever you get to that point. And so these guys constantly mention that, hey, I just want to do what I can do to help this team win. I just want to be like, hey, coach, put me in at whatever position you want to put me in. I heard both of them say something similar to those things. And so, being able to bring in players that want to be part of a winning culture, a championship culture, is going to be very important from the future. And this was the first draft where we did that. And at the press conference, both those guys, said those types of things. Barnheiser was out here doing Prestiisms and Thunderisms, talking about stacking days, talking about pressure is a privilege. Like, he did his research. He watched his YouTube videos before he went to that press conference. But, both those guys, they seem like great guys, great humans. And I think they're going to fit in great with this team.
Yeah, I think like it's funny because now that we have that championship, everything about the city and about the player perception of the city is completely different because like Oklahoma City is not Miami, it's not Los Angeles, it's not New York, it's never going to be that. We went a completely different way, and that's not to that, like Oklahoma City is an awesome, like we have a ton to do, but the national perception of the city is that it's it's Oklahoma City, it's just whatever. But now we've got this under our belt, and we can bring guys in and be like, hey, we win titles here. Like we just proved it. We won 68 games, best net rating in however many years, best defense of all time. We are building something and have built something. You can either get with it or we can go with somebody else. And players are like, oh yeah, please, I would love to. Yeah, please, I'd love to be in a championship team. I will raise my hand and do that. And the ones that prove that to the front office and are like have the right mentality are the ones that they're going to pick. And it just makes the cream of the crop so much better for who they can get, not only in drafts, but free agency and all of that stuff. Not that we're going to have that in the near future, but that it just makes the culture that much different. And so everything you said about like how they're talking at the press conference makes a lot of sense from that perspective.
And it's expectation to perform, but these kids don't have to come in and carry the weight of a whole city, right? Like we just traded 5 seconds for Dylan Jones, and a year later we traded him out to free up money in a spot. Like that's where we're at. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like guys are going to be able to get what they need to get out of us. We got a great program, but like we don't need them. Like they need to perform more for themselves to stick around than like the good of the team for a lot of these guys. Yeah. Because we're at like 90+% of what we need anyway. We need you to come in and learn, and maybe you work out a bigger portion for yourself later. But like maybe that's freeing to some guys. Hey, look, I don't have to worry about all these other distractions. I don't have to worry about all this other crap that maybe I would in LA or Miami or New York. I just come in here and I keep my head down and I ball and I get to win a ton of games and I get to learn a lot. This is like a graduate program, maybe in a way, for some of these kids coming into the draft, where it's like we're bringing you in, or an internship, maybe even in a way. Like I know we got two-way players, but it's just, it feels different. The rest of the NBA, they use these guys, they use second-round players, and granted, we've had a lot of success in the second round. They use late first-rounders as like, we have to use them to fill out our roster. And we absolutely do not. We don't have enough room for all the guys, all the talent that has come through here. We take care of our own when guys perform. But this is like, this is just different. Get on. It's a moving train. That's right. It's not stopping for you. It's not stopping for anyone. We are full speed ahead, and you're going to have to adapt. And if you don't, we won't have room for you.
Yep. The train only stops when you win 16 after mid-April. That's the only time it stops.
It's right back at the beginning. We are just pulling out of the station.
And it's back to
it's
0-0
now.
So you mentioned Dylan Jones. So because we have kind of a roster crunch and we drafted Sorber in the first round, we had almost basically 15 guaranteed contracts already in the book. So we had to trade somebody. So we traded Dylan Jones and I think it was a 2029 second round pick via Houston to the Wizards. Yeah, for Kobe Jones. And then we waived Kobe Jones. So we opened up that roster spot more than likely for Sorber. And it's one of those things. I think it's going to happen from here on out. Either you're performing or you're not performing as quickly as we need you to be performing. Because it's not that Dylan Jones wasn't performing. He was a 26th pick in a draft. We traded 5 second rounders for him. So that's what New York thought about that pick. And it just happened to be that we needed a roster spot. You weren't in our top 12 in our roster and our rotation. And we just had to send him out. And fortunately for him, he gets sent out to the Wizards, who are a rebuilding team who are very thundery as far as their front office and who their front office has. And so that is probably the best place for him to go to build up his future, his career, and go on from here. And so best wishes to Dylan Jones. I wish him nothing but best in Washington. I hope he becomes a star over there. I hope that happens to every player that we draft that can't be on this team. While we're winning championships, go ahead and become stars somewhere else and build your brand there.
I can't remember. I was trying to remember it today. There was an interview he did early in the season where he just gave such a mature answer. It was something just it was a generic question. It was
he was very mature.
It was just how do you process the NBA and the game in the NBA? And he gave a 2-minute answer. It was so well thought out.
I think it was during the beginning of the season. Media day.
It was very early on. I just remember being wow, this kid is there's something to this kid. And it's gotta stink, man, to be on the buses and in the crowd drinking champagne, and then 3 days later you're on the Washington Wizards. No disrespect to the Wizards, but it's gotta sting a little bit. It's gotta sting. He's got that ring. He's got that on his finger. I hope I'm excited for him to be there opening night 2025-2026 NBA season.
Well, he won't be there. He'll be there when the Wizards
not get
play
his ring the same time
in OKC.
Oh,
no, he does not.
That's tough. But I mean, he still gets the ring. But from a person perspective, that's gotta suck. That's just you're drinking champagne one day, and next day you're leaving all your guys you just celebrated with. But at the same time, like what you said, Alex, this is the perfect place for him. It was very clear, very quickly. Maybe not so quickly, but by the end of the season, it was pretty clear we were favoring Ajay Mitchell for Dylan Jones in terms of the minutes that we were giving him. I'm very excited about Ajay Mitchell. My God, that deal we got was so nice. But I'm so looking forward to him. But I think Dylan Jones still can be that. But we just have so many guards. We're a championship team now. Mm-hmm. You just can't expect to develop in a quick enough way that you need to develop, especially when Dylan Jones comes in as a slightly older guard. He's not super old, but he's not 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
So there's that to be considered as well.
I was just gonna say our developmental runway
has very short,
so
especially in the guard position. I'm excited for Dylan Jones. I hope he becomes a freaking all-star, dude. If I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I hope he becomes the best player he can be. But it just wasn't gonna fit on this runway for the Thunder.
Yeah, one of the fun things he said too was, it was like, oh, you were a star in college and then you end up coming here, and how do you check that and find your new role? And he's like, the good thing about being a star in college is I know what a star needs around him, and I'm able to now anticipate those needs for the stars around me. And that's great, right? He came in, apparently he was a good guy, like very mature answer. The problem is now he goes to Washington and there are no stars needs to help anticipate. So
he can become his own.
Maybe he can actually
become a star player
there in Washington.
Yeah. He doesn't have Jordan Poole now hogging the ball. He can just go off.
He can keep all the baddies in DC for himself.
Hey, Chocolate City, baby. But I mean, it's one of those things again. The Washington front office all came from Oklahoma City. You talk about Will Dawkins and he's their new GM and things like that. So as far as giving this guy a runway, like his runway went from no space to miles long as far as his developmental runway. So he's going to get his chance in DC. I'm going to be cheering for him. I'm going to see, I'm going to be checking in on him just like I did like Trey Mann, just like I did, a couple other players, Poku when he went to Charlotte for a little bit there, like just checking in on them and seeing how they're doing. And, hopefully he does good. His
runway went from a helipad to now it can accommodate a plane. Yeah. So he's good.
Yeah. A Commodore. So talking about the players that are still on the roster. So today, some great news that we got earlier today was that Jalen Williams, Jaywill, signed a 3-year, $24 million extension.
I think
descending. Yeah. So
I don't know.
Bobby Marks, I think, put it out there.
Spotrac has it ascending, but I guess we have conflicting things. So I'm looking at it on Spotrac, and
I think it was like 8.4 the first year, and then 7.7 and 7.7 the 2 years. Mm-hmm. With the last year being team option.
It is a team option, yeah.
Yeah, last year being a team option. That's a great.
They now have him, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, all on descending contracts over the next that's just. I mean, part of that, I assume they've crunched the numbers and they're trying to that kind of helps them fit into like how does the Chet and J-Dub and Shea contracts all fit into this puzzle, because like right now we are technically under the first apron. We're at 188 million. First apron's 195 million. But it's gonna balloon real quick.
You're gonna add
Sorber. I think Sorber is already factored into this.
Oh,
no, it's on. Actually, no, it's on cap.
Yeah, because
so maybe that doesn't factor in.
Yeah, but it was like 4.7
million.
Still the same slot. It's gonna be
4.7. Yeah.
So they're like they're like 1.8, 1.9 million under the first apron. So they're right where they need to be right now with AJ Mitchell and Jalen Williams contracts now. But next year that's going to balloon like crazy, and those descending contracts do add a little bit of relief, not a ton, but enough to where you can maybe get a little bit more flexibility. And I think the descending contract stuff like that, I think that is a testament to their culture. Like, I don't think a lot of players are going to be okay with getting less money over time as they age if they don't feel comfortable with where they are in the league. And, Jalen Williams you don't have to be an astute observer to know like he loves this team. He's one of the best like culture guys, vibe guys. Like he does also play an awesome role for this team. 50% of his starting games, he averaged a triple-double. So let's not forget that, one of 2 games. It was also like a really good factor in the Nuggets series. Like he wasn't the guy locking down Jokic every time, but when he was in the minutes, he did a great job. Like that's valuable. That's well more than $8 million a year valuable in my eyes, especially when it feels like a lot of the league is trying to figure out how do we match up with Jokic, like size-wise. We just got him and Sorber, so we're looking real nice. But yeah,
how is Denver going to match up
with Jaywill and Sorber? That's the question the league should be.
With our Nikola Brokic. That dude just...
Oh, by the way, Nikola Topic is about to wreak havoc on the league.
But something talking about Presti, right? We decline team options at a very, very team friendly rate. 1 to 2.5 million in that range for these guys.
Decline and sign. And like, so Jaywill went from what, 2.3 or something up to, 8.4. And that's 6 million of money that he was not going to see, or he potentially could have not seen. Right. So like, we've had a little leverage, like, okay, we're going to do this, give you your money up front, throw it in an investment account so you can make your money on the back end type of thing. But like, we are on the forefront. I don't hear of a lot of other teams using that philosophy because they're so scrapped for money that they're like, man, if I can, like Wiggins, right? Like if we could have Wiggins at 2.1 million, of course, every team in the league would take Wiggins at 2.1 million. But we're like, no, we're going to get you your money ahead of time. Joe, we're going to get you your money ahead of time. And that'll make it more team friendly on the back end. That it's something like we had Russ, we had KD, maybe we had another guy, Ibaka, there with them, but all the guys on the fringes it was very difficult to build out depth on that roster. Presti learned from mistakes, or maybe like found a loophole in the system in a way that allows us to just maintain our superior depth while also getting better and building around the fringes all at the same time. It's really exciting to see this team building.
Yeah, it's definitely team culture. A lot of teams aren't able to do this because they don't keep guys long enough to build that relationship, to build that trust. The Thunder guys like Isaiah Joe picked up off the scrap heap, from Philadelphia after they released him. A guy like Aaron Wiggins, second rounder, did the two-way thing, got signed to a second round, by the way, very cap friendly
as well.
Yeah. Got signed to a very cap friendly deal, goes on to sign another extension with us that looks a lot better. Jaywill now, Ajay Mitchell. Ajay Mitchell was only with us for this first season, but from the jump, we saw that this guy was a player. This guy was NBA ready from the jump. A creator out there, a playmaker, somebody that could get into the teeth of the defense, cause that breakdown in defense, kick it out to the open guy, and get the offense kick-started that way. And so, he's another player that we extended today. 3-year, was it $9 million extension?
Yep.
I think it is. Again, he was basically on a $3 million per year thing anyway, but we just extended it 2 to 3 more years.
Can you imagine if AJ Mitchell is like that guy in 2 years and he's on $3 million? That's crazy.
I know. Can you imagine if AJ Mitchell is getting 20 minutes in an NBA Finals game?
$3 million.
He's making $3 million.
A real conversation people had for a stint was who's more important for the future of the Thunder, Wallace or Mitchell. That was a real thing.
Yeah.
People are waking up how important.
Whenever Wallace was struggling,
and they're seeing how good Wallace was in the playoffs. Like, it's insane to think that this kid just kind of came out of nowhere, and he's almost as impactful in a way for us. To think about the situation he was in coming back from injury and then getting inserted into the most competitive basketball he's ever had in his life against the best in the world. Like, it's a really tough transition for what he was expected to do. But man, like,
and the team awarded him, rewarded him for him. That's that trust. That's that building that trust, building that culture, building that trust and culture for agents also. So when the second round comes around, you want to tell your client, hey, you should probably be taking workouts with Oklahoma City. You should probably be doing interviews with Oklahoma City so that you can go ahead and get into that pipeline, get into that that academy, NBA academy there, and build yourself and hopefully get one of these contracts.
Holmgren wanted to come to us for that reason.
Summer.
And a lot more players will want to come to us because of that, because they see that these undrafted players, these second rounders, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, even though Alex Caruso's path took him to other places. But the first team that he was on was Oklahoma City. And so we have that, Kenrich Williams, him too. Like, again, it didn't start here, but he was the guy in the trade that we were like, he's the first guy that we could go ahead and get rid of. The team saw something in him. The team saw something as far as like his leadership, as far as his, his effort, his gumption, and said, that's a guy that we want young players to see. And
he was maybe more impactful for us than Steven Adams would have been.
Very ironic. Yeah. Very ironic. Because, Steven Adams, as far as the characteristics of player that he was, we still think about that. We don't necessarily think about the player himself. We love the player, but the characteristics of a hard worker, somebody willing to set screens, somebody willing to, go out there and fight for their teammates, basically. That's what we remember about Steven Adams. And that's basically what Kenny Hustle's become for us. That type of
Shout
player.
out Steven Adams.
And so we had
Houston.
Shout. Oh, we got to talk about Houston. We'll talk about Houston here in a little bit. But yeah, so we got Jaywill locked down. We got Ajay Mitchell locked down. Tomorrow, I believe, starting at is it 6? Yes, 6 p.m. Eastern. Teams can negotiate with their own free agents. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
We have.
We don't
have any free agents per se. Yeah, we don't have any free agents per se, but a certain MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he is eligible for a designated player extension, which would give him 35% of the salary cap. Was the shit ton of money.
Backing up the brake truck tomorrow.
4 years, $296.
So he's eligible for that.
$296.
Yeah, 4 years, $296. Like, he'll be making, is it like $80 million in the last year?
Yeah, it's like high 70s, I think.
I thought it was like 81.
Blows my mind.
Actually.
Maybe.
Whatever it is.
And deserves it, and deserves every penny of it. So if they put it, and here's the thing. So Dub and Chet are also eligible for their post rookie scale,
5-247.
Extensions. 5-247. It's going to both of them. Yep. Not even thinking about
That's
it.
just a lot of money.
Only thing I would think about maybe is the guaranteed years with Chet, with his injury history. I would probably make that last year a team option. But other than that, I think both those players are going to get that extension. And I think Shai is going to take less than the designated player max extension. I think he's going to take less.
Man.
It's what'd you say, Matty? 4 years, 296.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
If he messes around and does like 4 years, 270, it would not.
That would be such a win, but I just don't know. I don't know if that's like.
I think Shai is
I know
man.
He's a great guy, and I know he's like he's for the team, but like that's just like I don't know.
I know you're leaving money on the table, but here's the thing: you're leaving money on the table.
It's more for like the rest of the league too. Like you're setting the bar.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you want to keep a team together, and I don't know if it was Presti that said this or Dagnon. I think it was Presti. People are going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And so 270, 296, you're talking about 26 million. To us, what the hell? To him, maybe with him running Converse, and I don't know, but whenever those shoes come out, I think they're going to be top sellers from here on out. His shoes and his stock within that company is going to like shoot up. So I think he's going to have a shit ton of money as it is. Like, you never turn down more money. Let's think about rich people. What do rich people want more than anything else? More money. But I do think for the culture of winning and to continue winning and to keep those guys on the team, I think Shai may take less.
I could see it like there's two sides of this coin, because yes, you want to keep the team, but I think he also knows that he's now like the face of the league, and what his salary is sort of like the bar for everybody else. And I think that also matters in his head to like get other guys paid around the league. So it's tough. I don't know. I could see both sides of that, but I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. That'd be nice for flexibility. Like between J-Dub and Chet, I don't think there's a lick of a chance they're giving up any of that money. I think Shea.
Mm-mm. And
I think
wouldn't want
they
them
have
to.
deserved
That's
it.
their first.
They have deserved it.
exception.
Get paid. You're both like Jalen Williams is getting. Ousmane Dieng is getting more money than Jalen Williams right now. He deserves every penny of that. But both of those guys do. I hope I hope Shea does like a little bit of a cut, but I'm a little hesitant to. I'm going to assume they're all going for the top dollar.
Were you the one that put on the chat that you want Chet? If only Chet could be
for
on,
what Jabari Smith Jr.
Jabari Smith
5 years
extension.
for like 125 range, like 25 a year. I was just
something
like,
like that,
oh
yes.
my god, bro!
What a deal! I think they don't get that deal if they don't make all the other moves prior to that. That was such a sweet deal.
Oh man!
Can somebody give us a Steph Curry discount? You remember Steph Curry before his first extension?
44.
He had all
like
those
11
he had all those ankle injuries and. Can somebody give us give us a Steph injury?
He was
discount,
a consensus MVP, making like $12 million in a year.
My God, dude. But we've planned for this too. We've planned for all this money. We're good.
We have.
Even if Shea takes every penny, it's going to be a little bit tighter. But like and the other thing too is if you're looking at if you really are looking at crunching the numbers. Isaiah Hartenstein does have a club option, not next season, but 2026, 2027. Obviously, you want to keep him around, but that's a lot of money. And, we already talked about Sorber a lot. Maybe he's able to get into that position by that point. Maybe Jaywill has developed a little bit more, and you got a nice cheap $8 million for him that season. Kenrich Williams is also on a club option there. I don't really know. He's kind of getting old, but like that, there's a little bit of wiggle room with that Isaiah Hartenstein contract where you can sort of mess around with stuff if they all take the top dollar. So we're fine.
And with all that said, we're still under the tax next year.
This was all planned like 3 years ago.
This is all future money. This is not this upcoming season money. This is all future money.
And what is the valuation of a team having won 2 or 3 championships, going into a new arena, into a revitalized area with a league MVP, maybe a multi-time finals MVP, all of that history on a team that still has upward trajectory here in a couple of years? Like, okay, maybe they're paying 250, 300, 400 million, like what the Celtics were expected to do in just tax money. But like they might double in valuation from today to 2028 as a team. Yeah. We just saw the Lakers impartial, not even the whole thing, impartiality of it, sold with a $10 billion valuation overall. So it's not insane to think that the Thunder would be worth 6, 7, 5, 8 billion come 2030.
5 at the low, 5
with
at
potential
the low.
Multiple championships and all that. Like the ownership group, they struggled to even reach the salary floor for a couple of years there and paid bonuses to the team. They've been putting this money back. I feel no sympathy for what their tax bill is going to be, but I'm grateful that they're going to pay it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%, man. And we will probably find all this out tomorrow.
Yeah.
At
do not be alarmed when you see a lot of money getting thrown out by the Thunder. That's as expected and part of the plan.
It is part of the plan. That's the thing. It is part of the plan, and we are going to pay these guys. These are the core of our team. These are the guys that if you have these 3 and you put a whole bunch of other players around it, these 3 should be able to, go ahead and keep you winning, keep you going in that same trajectory. And so, yeah, good times in Oklahoma City. This is what we were looking for 4 or 5 years ago. This is what we were hoping for. And it's here now with a championship in hand already. That is the beautiful thing about this. Like, I would have been happy with competing for championships whenever Dub and Chet started their new extension. We literally have one more year of them being on their rookie scale deal. Like, we could repeat as champions with them still being on their rookie deals. So just let that sink in. Don't worry about the money. It's not your money.
It's billionaires.
It's the owner's money, and they've been it's billionaires' money, and they've been preparing for this day for a long time now. So kind of flipping the script and looking at teams that want to dethrone the Oklahoma City Thunder.
As much.
There's been a lot of moves here recently by other teams. And the two teams I want to kind of focus on real quick. Number one, Minnesota. You know, we played them in the Western Conference Finals. They have gone to 2 straight Western Conference Finals on the shoulders of guys like Rudy Gobert, guys like Anthony Edwards. And so they re-signed Naj Reid to a 5-year deal worth $125 million.
Yep.
Well deserved. Get your money. And then they re-signed Julius Randle to a 3-year deal worth $100 million. Again, pretty deserved. I don't know if, Yeah, good playoff run. You know, I think him and Ant kind of learned how to start playing together with each other as far as, you know, being on the same team and both being kind of, you know, heavy ball possession type players. But yeah, so they're keeping their core together. The interesting one will be whether they keep Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I don't think they will. No,
they won't be. They may not be able to. And so, you know, they may be depending on their draft picks. They may be depending on somebody like what's their guard's name? The little guard,
Rob
guy out of Kentucky, Rob Dillingham. Yeah, depending on him to take more of like the point guard role on that team. But yeah, they're giving out their money. They're keeping the players that they think are going to keep them on that same tier. And then freaking Houston. Houston is putting together a team that is going to be fun. Like, as far as rivalries go, like, this is what I'm looking for, you know, for that team. I thought it was going to be maybe San Antonio. Before they traded Luka, I thought it might have been Dallas, maybe Denver. Houston is putting together a team now with Kevin Durant. You know, you have they're re-signing basically their entire bench. They might be bringing in Dorian Finney-Smith. And they just re-signed, or they just extended Jabari Smith
and
Jr.
Van Vliet sticking with them.
Fred VanVleet, Jabari Smith, Steven Adams.
Yeah.
They bring in Kevin Durant. They've got
Tari Eason. What's his name?
I got to figure out what Reed Shepherd is.
All those players. Jay Shante. Yeah, they got to figure out what he is.
And they still have pieces that they could move. Like, if they wanted to upgrade in the trade deadline, like, they could move around. Like, Cam Whitmore could be a guy on the move. I don't know what Reed Shepherd is yet.
Yeah.
Like, he could be a very, very valuable piece to them. Like, the
Phoenix
Rockets,
pieces.
the Rockets could be like, I think it's like very clear the Rockets are the number 2 team in the West behind the Thunder. Like, very clear, very, very clear. So that's gonna you know, there's a long ways away to the Western Conference Finals. That would be a fantastic Western Conference Finals for those 2 teams to you know, you've got the Durant, you know, angle at it. Steven Adams as well is on that team. Like, you've got 2 really good defenses in the Thunder and the Rockets. They did lose Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. Like, that does factor in a little bit, but like they're just really 2 really deep, well-positioned teams for the now. So,
what a swing getting Durant for the playoffs and offloading Green. Like, Green was so non-existent in most of their playoff run.
They had such good leverage on that Phoenix. You know, Phoenix had no leverage at all.
It was ridiculous. And like, Phoenix didn't get any of their future back, really. They got the 10th pick, and that was it. There was reported deal with like Gobert and DiVincenzo and Dillingham and like the 17th pick for Durant as what the Wolves offered. And I guess Durant just didn't want to go to Minnesota enough. And so like declined that. But man, like, that would have been a hell of a return.
Much better.
For Phoenix.
Much better. Yeah, Phoenix is in kind of like a weird
I mean, I know they've kind of filled it out a little bit, but at one point they had like only guards on their team.
It's just, well, yeah. I mean, a lot of when you got Brooks and Booker and Green all kind of just fighting for the 2 spot, essentially.
Bradley Beal.
And Beal, I forget about him. Like, it's just, that's a very weird setup. But they made some good moves. They did all right. It just really sucks that Houston didn't have to give more for Durant.
Yeah, I would have liked that, but now we've got so I'm trying to figure it. So the 5 is going to be VanVleet, Amen Thompson, KD, Jabari, and Şengün.
Yep.
That's a
damn good starting line.
That's a really good starting 5. And then you got off the bench
Tari Eason, Finney Smith,
Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
Like that's like a solid 8 to 9 man roster.
That's a 55+ win team.
Yeah. That's
we still talking
I
about
think,
the Rockets.
I think they're primed. I wonder if that's going to be well, I guess it's probably not going to be a Christmas Day game, but that's going to be a lot of national
opening night
national TV game right there every time.
Opening night, have Kevin Durant watch the banner drop.
Oh, can you imagine?
Yes, please. And all the cameras are panning on him.
Love it. And I hope Steven Adams is like celebrating with the team. Like he runs over to there and is like, "Yes, we did it."
He doesn't have any connection to anyone, does he?
No, not anymore.
SGA. He played with SGA and Dort.
Yeah.
They played in the bubble. Yeah.
Against the Rockets. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that'll be fun. But I mean, you can kind of see that the West is gearing up to be a bloodbath once again. Because
it's like who's left standing.
Because of injuries, you have, the Achilles tear for Dame, you have the Achilles tear for Tatum, and the Achilles tear for Halliburton. The Celtics are a selling team right now. They've given up Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons, and they've given up Porzingis.
I do think they're
Atlanta.
done, by the way. I think they're kind of just set. Like they're under I think their goal was just get under the second apron. And they've done it now, and I think they're done.
Yeah.
I don't think Jaylen Brown's going anywhere.
They cut like $225 million in tax bill.
They saved a lot of money. That new franchise, new front office is feeling a little bit better today.
That new ownership group
is happy.
They're going to be tagged as cheap if they don't. So I think Boston is positioning themselves for the free agency
in another year
run of 2025.
I mean,
they're just sticking around right now.
It would make no sense for them to load up for anything this year with Tatum's injury.
No, you just kind of float and then go next year. That's pretty smart. It's pretty smart.
But yeah. Lots of things going on in the NBA, and there'll be a lot more things going on tomorrow. So just make sure you check back with us. You guys have anything else that you want to cover?
Not yet. I mean, there's so many there's not really like a one guy in the free agency that you're looking at. It's just kind of like a lot of little potential moves that could be made. So we'll wait to see what happens. And
one last NBA nugget to mention before we leave is LeBron James opted into his player option, $52 million. However, Paul came out and said basically he's weighing his options for what next season looks like. LeBron
sign.
I wonder what that means.
Why would he do that?
Let's sign him for $12 million for 2 years.
So a lot of people in circles are speculating a return to Cleveland to finish up his career next year in a wide open Eastern Conference. So the hardest road indeed for LeBron. Going the KD route.
Always.
Interesting.
Always. Well, hey, a lot of Thunder news that we just covered. A week from the championship. Still a champion. Woke up a champion. Yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens. Like, this may be a very boring offseason, per se, like as far as roster moves and things like that.
There, boys. Johnson's still out there.
Yeah, hey, you never know.
Starting out there.
We do need shooting apparently.
Love it.
So that he is proven in the NBA. But yeah, so a lot of news has come out. We have a lot of news coming up tomorrow from not just us, but from other teams. So make sure you stick around. Make sure you stick tuned to Topic Thunder. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcast format. But as always, I don't know. I don't know.
God bless.
How does Dylan finish it? God bless. Hoop when you can, if you can, and as always.